Hey everybody, it's Kristen Barton coming to you again from beautiful Paganistan, Minneapolis, Minnesota, where it is no longer the tundra. It's the end of April. It's April 21st today, and I'm excited because I can actually walk outside without, suiting up like Santa Claus. So yay for that. So it's been a minute since I've done a video for you, and the reason is I just haven't had the time. I'm in social services and I've been busy working a lot. So, and also celebrating Ostara and getting ready for Beltane and that type of thing as well. So at any rate, I'm here to talk with you today a little bit about witchcraft slash spellcraft versus Wicca and what those different things mean and are, and a little bit about spellcraft and its practical use. And subjects relating to that. So I wrote a book a couple of years ago that's in PDF form, and it's online for you to buy if you want. It's on Payloads. You can look me up, Kristen Barton. But a lot of people who buy my book, and I'm also super pleased that people are buying my book, but people who buy my book will oftentimes then contact me and ask questions, which is also great. I'm happy to answer questions from anybody. But I get a lot of people saying things like, well, I'm not super trained. Could you help me do a spell, for my brother-in-law or what have you? Or, they have various and sundry things they're trying to get done with spellcraft. And I want to talk with you a little bit about why most traditionally trained Wiccans will answer no to that question and kind of what's going on with that. And this will teach you a little bit about spellcraft as well, just by kind of de facto talking about it. So, okay. So I'm glad that people are asking for help instead of trying to do spells that they're not trained to do. That's great. Good on you. Good job. But the thing is, when people ask for spells from trained witches, what they have to understand is that we as the witches are responsible for what we do, and we believe very strongly in that. So, if somebody says to me, can you please help me do a spell to keep my brother out of jail? Okay, as an example. A lot of people will say, well, that's in my brother's highest good. He's a good guy. He doesn't deserve to go to jail. Yes, he kind of messed up, but I'd really like to help him out so he can have a second chance in life. And that sounds great, right? Nothing bad about that. The thing is, though, neither you nor I know what his highest good actually is. And this is true with pretty much any situation. People who say, well, I know it's my boyfriend, it's in my boyfriend's best interest to come back to me. Do you? Maybe you think you do, but I'm not convinced that I know. I'm not convinced that you know either. And so if I do a spell to make something like that happen, what I'm doing is I'm kind of messing with the natural turn of events that, are going to unfold throughout time and space. And yes, that's what spellcraft is, but we have to be very careful about how we use it and when we use it. We don't just do spells for whatever we want, at least not in my training. Maybe some people do. But I'm responsible for everything I do, and I can't know, for instance, that it isn't in your brother's life plan to go to jail, meet an important teacher there who will help him change the trajectory of his life, and have him get out and help thousands and thousands of people and change, history because he had the opportunity to go to jail and have that experience. If I keep him out of jail because I think that's the best thing for him, I may not be helping. It's not to say he won't get that life trajectory done anyway, but he'd have to do it in a different way. And it isn't for me to say, I know what's best for this other person. I don't. And you don't either. And I'm really sorry if that bursts people's bubbles or makes them think that I'm a jerk or whatever. But that's really what we're taught in Wicca, is that we are responsible for everything we do. So no, I'm not going to, especially for a stranger, do spellcraft to, I don't know, bring back your lover, make somebody who is upsetting you leave, or, sell their house or whatever. I'm not going to do that because I don't know what the situation is and I'm responsible. Also, I don't have the emotional gas and or the money and or the time to just do spells for every single person who wants me to do that. We get asked hundreds of times to do that. So we, witches who are on the internet, we're used to fielding these questions, and we love to answer your questions. But no, I'm not going to take my time out to go buy this, that, or the other thing, to do a spell, to do this, that, or the other thing for you, because that's not my job here on the planet. But that doesn't mean that I don't think you shouldn't use spellcraft to whatever end you feel you should use it, because I'm not you, you're not me. And if you're not my student, I have nothing to say to you about that. Go do your witchy thing, please, if you want to. But I'm going to warn you to really be aware of what you're doing. So that's one of the reasons why witches who you meet on the internet or whatever are not just going to jump and go do a spell for you. When I take a craft student, I have to think really hard about that. I don't just let anybody study with me. That's the other thing, is that you might be very worthy and the most wonderful person in the world. I'm sure you are, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to just say, oh, okay, I'm going to be your craft teacher, because that's a super sacred, very profoundly important and long-lasting relationship that you have with a craft student. So like, I have to really get to know people before I'm going to take them as a student. And in my tradition, we actually have to be able to teach you in person. So you have to be able to like come to my living room and actually do the work with me, or I'm not going to work with you. So that's the other thing too. So please don't feel offended or feel like I'm rejecting you in any way. If you say to me, I really, I want you to be my craft teacher, I'm very honored. I mean, that's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm deeply touched, but that's not kind of how it works. So that's the thing. So when we're constructing a magical working, we have to really think about whether we're actually in a good position to even use magic to begin with. We don't just naturally go to spellcraft as our way of handling everything. We don't just do a spell for this and a spell for that and a spell for something else. We want to do all the mundane things that we need to do first. Why would I do a spell to help you get a girlfriend if you're not showering regularly and you don't have good conversation topics and you don't know how to be polite in public and you don't understand, the ABCs of social interaction and dating? We would want to start there rather than trying to do a spell to get you a girlfriend, right? We might do spellcraft to help all of those things come together for your highest good. We could certainly do that. We could also do a spell to, I don't know, help you be magnetized to your perfect lover or something like that. But we're not going to do a spell that's going to be like, you get to date a supermodel now, or whatever it is. But at any rate, so people often will ask me to teach them to do spell work, or teach them to send energy, or try to get me to do readings for them and things like that. And on the rare occasion that I happen to have the time, I may do a very, very quick something for somebody, as far as a reading or whatever. But in general, I don't. And I don't, that's not the type of witch I am. I don't do readings. I have friends who do. My work is mostly teaching traditional Wicca and doing rituals and supporting my local craft community and writing a little bit about just important issues that I see that are missed in most of the books that are out there. So that's kind of my personal mission, is, to just say what's missing. So the thing is, a lot of people, when they're interested, first of all, they'll say, I'm interested in Wicca. And then they'll contact somebody like me, whether it's me or somebody else, and they'll be like, I want to learn Wicca. And what comes out is they really want to learn witchcraft. They really want to learn secular witchcraft, which is great. You don't have to be a religious witch. You can definitely not be Wiccan and still be a witch. So if you're interested in that, that's what you should be studying. So please do use the words that mean what you mean them to mean. Don't say, I want to learn Wicca, which is a religion, and then when you really, don't want to learn that. Also, you can practice Wicca without emphasizing spellcraft. As a matter of fact, my tradition, Blue Star, tends to emphasize the worship of the gods over spellcraft, although certainly I do spellcraft and a lot of Blue Star Wiccans do spellcraft as well. But so you can study secular witchcraft, and there is no such thing as a beginner spell. You know, if you need a beginner spell, you shouldn't be doing spells yet, period. That's my opinion. I know other teachers may feel differently about this. I don't think I'm the end all and be all of witchcraft teachers. I think that there are a lot of different ways to look at stuff, but any student of mine is not going to be doing spellcraft within the first week or even month of studying with me, because that's not how I approach it. I approach it with, you know, getting the basic skills. I don't know if people, I guess there's been a redo of the Karate Kid, but I'm an 80s kid, so I remember when, you know, the Karate Kid was working with the master and he was having him wax the cars and he'd go wax on, wax off, and the kid was like, why am I doing this? Well, you're developing the muscles. That's what you're doing. And so that's how I approach spellcraft as well, is that we develop the muscles, the magical abilities first to do the stuff that you're going to need to do in a spell before we actually cut you loose to do a spell. And I think that that's easier on the student, it's more responsible, and it helps the student learn in a safer way. There's nothing more dangerous than a half-trained witch. Oh, I've had this happen before. I had to let somebody go from my coven once because he just wouldn't stop dabbling. And he kept getting himself in trouble, and he kept getting attachments, and it was just something else, you know, and we kept saying, do the homework we give you. You know, don't try to go and do this advanced operation that you found in a book because you thought it was cool and you thought you could handle it. You know, listen to your teachers if you're going to have a teacher, and start slow. And if you're studying on your own and you're studying secular witchcraft, it is my advice to you, and you don't have to take it, but it is my advice to you that you study for at least a year, like a year. Study, take notes, learn what the tools are. Don't just go out and buy a bunch of tools and be like, these are my witchcraft tools, you know. No, there's no sense in doing that. First of all, you're going to spend too much money if you are too new. And then also you're not going to get the exact right thing for what you're doing, because you're not going to know what the exact right thing is because you haven't studied enough. So you might go and buy yourself this really cool oak wand, and it's a beautiful oak wand, and you know, yay for you for having an oak wand. But then when you start doing your work, you realize that, oh, you know, something as simple as a pussy willow from your backyard is probably going to be more useful to you as a new caster of spells or caster of circles. And your oak wand might sit in your ritual cabinet for 3 years or 4 years before you even learn how to use an oak wand. Or you might use the oak wand and find that, you know, it's not the best thing. At any rate, just don't go crazy buying stuff. Don't buy stuff. You can make almost anything you need for spellcraft, because remember, ye oldie witches of yore did not have, you know, magic world down the street. Like, they didn't get to go to the metaphysical shop. They didn't exist. Okay, like, everybody made their own stuff. So if you want to do it old school, you don't buy stuff. I mean, not a lot of stuff anyway. So at any rate, there are no beginner spells. If you want to study witchcraft, please say witchcraft instead of Wicca, because Wicca is a religion. You want to study Wicca, that's great. You'll get some witchcraft thrown in, depending on, you know, which tradition you're studying with. So while there is no such thing as a beginner spell, there are beginner things, exercises that you can do that can kind of help you experience what this energy that we wield actually is. And the energy comes from the universe, by the way. One of my favorite things when people are trying to, I don't know, debunk witchcraft or whatever, especially evangelical Christians will say, well, but where does it come from? Where does your power come from? Okay, first of all, what power are you talking about? You know, my power, like, to do this came from my ability to put my fingers together, and, you know, it's not like this thing that has to come from above or below. You know, it's all around us. The universe is teeming with this energy. We have it in our bodies. It's all around us. It's in the air. It's in the water. It's in the earth, you know. So at any rate, the energy comes from all around us, and we kind of suck it up, so to speak, and concentrate it and then send it out. But ways that a beginner can learn to do this is, the first thing I like to have people do, and this is in my book, is charge water. You can charge a glass of water really easily. You can take a glass of water and hold it in your hands and charge it with an intention and drink it, or water your plants with it, or whatever, you know, charge it with a gemstone if it's not a gemstone that will dissolve, or poison water. You can do any number of things with water, because water is very programmable. One of the first things that I have my students do is make moon or sun water, which is basically just like it sounds, where, you know, if it's the moon, you leave a glass of water. I like to put a coffee filter over the top so it doesn't get junk in it. But you put the glass of water, you know, on your windowsill in the light of the full moon, and you leave it out, and then it's charged with the light of the full moon. And some of us will put a moonstone in it, if you want to be, you know, extra witchy or whatever, or, you know, just give an extra oomph to that charge. I have a lovely moonstone necklace on here that I could certainly use for that purpose. But at any rate, so, you know, you put it under the light of the full moon, or you can conversely make sun water and put it in, you know, the light of the direct sunlight on your windowsill or what have you. And some people will do this for 3 nights, or they might do it for 1 night, or they might do it for 1 day or 3 days, or whatever makes sense to them. And sometimes they can also put an intention that they have written on a piece of paper underneath the glass of water. Let's say the intention is that you will, I don't know, be receptive to the communication of a goddess who might be interested in working with you. So a goddess is going to be closer aligned with lunar energy, unless she's one of the rare solar goddesses like Breed, for instance. So we would take and make moon water and place the intention underneath the water glass that, you know, I call to a goddess who might be interested in working with me as a priestess. Okay, so you put that out and you leave it out for 1 or 3 nights, usually not 2, because we want sacred numbers when at all possible. We can get into numerology. There might be some cases where you'd use the number 2, but we're not talking numerology right now. So basic, you know, water charging, just do it for like 1 or 3 days or nights. And then you can go ahead and drink that water and bring into you that vibration that you've charged that water with. So that's a nice first magical working that you can do. I wouldn't call it a beginner spell, because honestly, I charge water all the time. It's just a basic witchcraft spell, and it's hard to mess up. And that's why I like to give it to beginners, because, you know, it's not like if you do something wrong, it'll be awful and horrible things will happen or anything like that. Most spells aren't actually like that. That's the other thing. People will ask me, you know, what if my spell backfires? Okay, well, spells don't actually backfire. They might bring about unintended results because you were not specific enough in your wording. You know, again, the whole thing with the guy who does a spell to get $1 million and gets hit by a car, and then he's a paraplegic and he wins a settlement for $1 million, and people say, well, the spell worked. Yeah, you know, that spell didn't backfire. He wasn't specific enough, clearly. So don't be that guy. Okay, so you can certainly do some things, some magical workings that are not dangerous to do if you're not super well trained, but we want to be careful about opening portals. We want to be careful about asking for communication because you don't know who you're talking to, you know, things of that nature. So like charging water, perfectly fine. Go ahead and do that for your first activity if you want to. We can talk about doing other stuff. There are cookie recipes. I love doing spells that are cookie recipes. And this came about from me as a new 3rd degree high priestess, 8 years ago, I want to say, or 9, I don't even remember. That's how long it's been, I don't remember. Saying to people, spells are not cookie recipes, you know, and then I had some older high priestesses say, except when they are. And I was like, oh yeah, you actually could make a cookie recipe that could be a great spell. So, you know, doing like kitchen magic, that type of thing is also really cool to do, and is safer and less likely to bring results you don't want, I guess. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk a little bit today about spellcraft because I'm being approached a lot by the general public asking me to do spells for them. And while I'm not super comfortable doing that, I wanted to give people, you know, some ideas that they could actually begin to work with energy and work with natural substances and feel like they are in fact engaging in witchcraft, because witchcraft is vast and it is never ending, and you can spend your whole life or many lifetimes studying it and never reach the bottom, never know everything, and that's the beauty of it. But so, at any rate, remember, takeaway here is don't say Wicca if you don't mean the religion. It's okay to be a secular witch. You can be a witch without being Wiccan. That's great. Of course, if you want to be Wiccan, you know, study Wicca. That's wonderful too. And then also, there's no such thing as beginner spells. We don't anticipate that a lot of well-educated teachers are just going to take you on as a student or just tell you, yeah, pick up a wand and just do whatever, you know. It's important to approach with caution, not to be afraid, because we don't, I mean, it's not about fear. It's not about being afraid. It's about being responsible. Just like you wouldn't jump into the ocean if you couldn't swim, don't jump into spellcraft if you don't have the skill set. And if you don't even know what the skill set is, you couldn't write down a list of like, what are the skills that a witch should have? That means you're not ready to start doing workings. Other than very simple things like, you know, charging water, which I just gave you. So happy moon and sun water making. Mary Beltane coming up for those who celebrate, and I will talk with you later. Thanks a lot. Blessings, everyone.